When was the last time a piece of technology genuinely made you stop and think, not just wow, that's cool, but actually made you reconsider what it means to be human? Because what Japan is quietly doing right now in research labs, factory floors, and disaster response training centers is exactly that kind of moment. And here's the thing most people are missing. While everyone's obsessing over AI software, Japan has been solving the hardest problem of all, the physical world. The one where things fall, break, and don't follow instructions. In this video, we're going through 5 of the most significant Japanese humanoid robots that, based on available findings, are pointing toward a future that looks nothing like today. Some are already working in factories. Some are being trained to walk into burning buildings so firefighters don't have to. And at least one of them has a philosophy of human interaction so different from anything we've seen, it could redefine what a helpful machine even means. Stay with me, because by number 1, your idea of robots in real life is going to look very different. Number 5, Nextage Philly by Kawada Technologies. We start with something that isn't flashy, and that's exactly the point. Kawada Technologies, a Japanese robotics company with over 2 decades of humanoid development, brought their latest creation, the Nextage Philly, to CES in Las Vegas at the start of this year. And while the room was full of robots doing backflips, Philly was quietly doing something far more useful, assembling components next to a human worker without a safety cage, without a barrier, and without incident. Here's the engineering behind that. According to the company, Philly runs all its actuators at under 80 watts. That's less power than a standard light bulb. Force-limiting joints and collision-aware programming are built in from the ground up, meaning the robot is physically incapable of exerting dangerous force on the people around it. It also packs stereo cameras in its head for real-time 3D environmental mapping, and reportedly achieves positional repeatability down to 0.05 millimeters using optional hand cameras. For context, a human hair is roughly 70 micrometers wide. That's the level of precision we're talking about for inspection and assembly work. It runs on the QNX real-time operating system, the same family of OS used in aircraft and medical devices, and supports ROS with C++ for developer customization. Industry observers at CES reportedly described the system as one of the more practical factory solutions on the show floor. What makes Philly interesting from a big-picture standpoint isn't what it can do in isolation. It's that it's already deployed in over 100 companies. Japan has been quietly industrializing this technology for years, while the rest of the world was busy debating whether robots would ever leave the lab. Meanwhile, Philly is not a walking bipedal robot. It's torso-mounted and stationary. But that's the point. Not every problem needs legs. Philly solves the problem it was actually designed for. Number 4, Punyo by Toyota Research Institute. Now let's talk about something that breaks every instinct you have about what a robot should look like. Toyota Research Institute, the R&D arm of Toyota, introduced Punyo, and the first thing you notice is that it looks like it's wearing a cozy sweater. That's not aesthetic, that's engineering. Punyo's arms and chest are covered in compliant, grippy materials loaded with tactile sensors. Underneath that soft exterior are hard robotic arms with arrays of 13 individual air-filled bladders running from shoulder to wrist, each independently pressure regulatable depending on the task. What this creates is a robot that can feel what it's holding, not in a metaphorical sense, but in a real-time force feedback sense. If an object starts to slip, Punyo detects it and adjusts. The philosophy here is something TRI calls whole-body manipulation. The team's position, as stated in their published research, is that most robots were designed by people who came from industrial automation, big arms, rigid grippers, moving car parts. But that's not how humans actually handle the physical world. We hug boxes to our chest. We prop doors open with a hip. We carry grocery bags in the crook of an arm. Punyo is being trained to do exactly that, to handle bulky, heavy, and unwieldy objects using its full torso, not just its hands. In demonstrations, it's been shown slinging a water jug up onto its shoulder, stacking bins, and carrying objects in ways that would be physically impossible for a conventional gripper-based robot. TRI has also open-sourced the Soft Bubble Gripper, the visuotactile sensing technology at Punyo's core, making the design available to any researcher who wants to build on it. Potential applications, according to TRI's own statements, span domestic assistance, healthcare, and industrial settings. And perhaps most importantly, the team specifically designed Punyo to feel approachable. Because as they've noted in their research, a robot that humans feel uncomfortable around won't be adopted no matter how capable it is. Punyo is still a research platform. No commercial timeline has been confirmed, but the technology underpinning it, tactile sensing, whole body manipulation, is already influencing broader robotics development across the industry. Number 3. Dry-AIC, Japan's moonshot caregiver robot. Here's a number that reframes everything you're about to hear. By 2050, Japan's population is projected to be among the oldest in the world, with a demographic crisis so acute that the government has classified robotics as a national strategic priority. That's the context for the Moonshot Research and Development Program, a government-funded initiative backed by the Japan Science and Technology Agency, operating on a direct collaboration with NVIDIA. The program's third goal, specifically, is to develop autonomously learning robots capable of integrating into Japanese citizens' everyday lives by 2050. And the work happening under that goal right now is genuinely unlike anything being done elsewhere. One of the most technically demanding projects within Moonshot involves Dry-AIC, a humanoid robot being developed and trained to reposition elderly patients. If that sounds simple, consider what it actually requires. The robot needs to assess each individual patient's physical condition. It needs to calculate the exact trajectory for repositioning without causing pain. It needs to predict how much pressure to apply to specific joints, shoulders, knees, and it needs to do all of this in real time, adjusting to variables that change every time. According to NVIDIA, whose Isaac Sim platform is being used for training, the team used laptops powered by RTX GPUs to run 3D posture estimation, trajectory calculations, and force estimation. Dry-AIC uses fisheye and depth cameras to assess patient movements, with trajectory calculations modeled on data gathered from skilled human caregivers. The system then attempts to reproduce that expertise autonomously. The research team is set to showcase progress at the 2026 International Symposium on System Integration. Think about what's actually being attempted here. Japan is trying to encode the judgment and physical sensitivity of an expert caregiver into a machine. Not to replace caregivers, the framing throughout the Moonshot program is amplification, not replacement, but to address a care gap that is otherwise mathematically impossible to fill with human labor alone. This is long-term research with a 2050 horizon for full integration. But the specific milestones being hit now, in training accuracy, force estimation, real-world trials, are ahead of where many expected this program to be at this stage. Number 2, Kaleido 9 by Kawasaki Heavy Industries. This is where things get serious. Kawasaki Heavy Industries, the same company that built Japan's first domestically produced industrial robot in 1969, unveiled the 9th generation of its Kaleido Humanoid at the 2025 International Robot Exhibition in Tokyo. And this one is clearly no longer a prototype. This is a machine being prepared for deployment. Kaleido 9 stands 190 centimeters tall and weighs 99 kilograms. Engineers have significantly reinforced the waist and leg joints compared to its predecessor, and the robot's maximum payload capacity has reportedly increased by 35%, now capable of handling up to 18 kilograms. It's equipped with LiDAR sensors and enhanced stereo cameras for real-time 3D environmental mapping, and is trained using NVIDIA's Isaac Sim simulation platform before physical testing. At the Tokyo demonstration, Kaleido 9 was shown extinguishing a simulated fire, removing a fallen shelf weighing 30 kilograms, navigating stairs and uneven ground, and performing what Kawasaki describes as rescue operations in a staged scenario. It can be operated autonomously via onboard sensors or remotely by a human pilot wearing a VR headset. What Kawasaki has published alongside this robot is arguably more important than the robot itself, a staged deployment roadmap running from now to 2050. Around 2030, the target is simple factory task integration and communication assistance in medical and nursing care settings. By 2040, the goal shifts to complex mechanical assembly and work at height, and by 2050, fully autonomous operation in unpredictable and hazardous environments, including active disaster sites. A company official at the IRX exhibition was quoted saying, "We focus on a human-sized design so that our robots can use fireproof clothing and devices. That's not a marketing line. That's a practical engineering constraint that's been driving the entire Kaleido program. Build a machine that fits into human spaces, uses human tools, and wears human protective gear." Kawasaki is also reportedly developing a Kaleido Station mobility unit, a wheeled base that would allow the robot to travel faster between task locations and potentially recharge automatically. That detail matters because it shows the engineering team thinking about operational deployment logistics, not just capability demonstrations. Kaleido 9 is still in testing, according to Kawasaki's own statements. Remote operation by a human pilot is still required for complex tasks, but the trajectory from lab to factory to disaster zone is clearly mapped, funded, and moving. Number 1. The Kyoto Humanoid Alliance, Japan's national play. And now we get to the one that tells you where all of this is actually headed. In July 2025, something quietly significant happened. Waseda University, TMSUK, Murata Manufacturing, and several other Japanese organizations formed the Kyoto Humanoid Association, a coordinated alliance with one specific, publicly stated goal: mass-produce humanoid robots by 2027. Renesas Electronics and Sumitomo Heavy Industries subsequently joined the initiative, contributing sensors, motors, and control microcontrollers. According to reports citing the alliance's timeline, a prototype is targeted for completion by early this year, with mass production beginning in 2026 and scaling into 2027. The alliance is developing two distinct machines. The first is a disaster response robot, reportedly designed to stand around 250 centimeters tall and capable of lifting more than 50 kilograms. Intended for hazardous environments where human presence creates unacceptable risk. The second is a human-scale research model, optimized for agility in environments designed for people. The backdrop to all of this is a formal government mandate. Japan's national AI and robotics strategy, as described by CDO magazine covering the government roadmap, explicitly identifies the goal of making Japan one of the world's most attractive environments for AI development and deployment. Humanoid robotics sits at the center of that strategy, alongside expanded AI safety research, earlier technology education, and industrial integration across manufacturing, logistics, and healthcare. Hitachi has separately announced plans to deploy AI-enabled humanoid robots in its own factories. And the government's investment isn't just symbolic, it's structural, targeting supply chain development and international competitiveness directly. Here's the thing about all of this that doesn't get discussed enough. Japan pioneered bipedal humanoid robotics. Waseda University's first bipedal robot dates back to 1969. Honda's Asimo was walking upstairs before most people had smartphones. The expertise, the component supply chains, the institutional knowledge, it never went away. It just stopped making the headlines. What the Kyoto Humanoid Association represents, alongside Kawasaki's roadmap and the Moonshot program, is Japan deciding that the window is now. The IFR, the International Federation of Robotics, noted in their most recent trends, report that the field is moving beyond prototypes to real-world deployment, and that Japan's industrial base is particularly well-positioned for the transition. A 2027 mass production target is aggressive. Numerous technical and supply chain challenges remain. But unlike many robotics announcements, this one comes with institutional backing, named industrial partners, and a government mandate, which is a meaningfully different level of commitment. So here's what I want you to take away from this. Japan isn't trying to build the most impressive robot in a demo reel. Japan is trying to solve real problems. An aging population that needs care, disaster environments too dangerous for human responders, factory floors facing a labor crisis that immigration alone won't fix. The robots we've covered today aren't science fiction. They're not concept renders. Based on all available findings, They are working machines on a trajectory toward real-world integration, and Japan's industrial infrastructure, institutional knowledge, and government strategy make that trajectory credible in a way it hasn't been before. Will all of this happen exactly on schedule? Probably not. Technology rarely does, but the direction is clear, the investment is real, and the problems being solved are ones that matter. The question I want to leave you with is this. When a robot can reposition an elderly patient with the sensitivity of a trained nurse, or walk into a burning building wearing the same fireproof suit as a firefighter, at that point, is the robot a tool, or is it something else? Drop your take in the comments. I read every single one. If this video gave you something to think about, subscribe. We cover AI and robotics like this every week, without the hype, and with the context that actually matters. I'll see you in the next one.